A tragic game for the Vancouver Canucks, and that's really the only word I can use for this one. It's a game where the Vancouver Canucks were the better team. It's a game where the Vancouver Canucks were against an inferior opponent, and it's a game where the Canucks were up against a goaltender who has been just fine all year, and they made him look like a god. It's something they've done in the past, it's something they will do again, but every time it is heartbreaking when it happens, and especially with the circumstance this team is in. The Vancouver Canucks right now have their highest odds coming into this game of making the playoffs in months. And when I say months, I'm not talking like, 2 months. I'm talking beginning of the season. Since they collapsed and before they fired Travis Green and Jim Benning. And looking at the schedule coming up, this seemed like a great chance to go into the trade deadline, get a couple of wins, hope Vegas loses, hope Dallas loses, and maybe, be close to a playoff spot by the time the trade deadline kicks around. Unfortunately, they put up 40 shots on a goalie and don't score a single goal. They make Alex Nedeljkovic look like an absolute god. As always, I'll give you my pluses and minuses shortly after I do a quick breakdown of the game. There's not too much I want to break down, so that might be a bit of a quick one. First period, Demko in net for the Canucks, who was excellent. Elias Pettersson back in the lineup, which is great. I thought he was great tonight. JT Miller, prime chance early on, 4 minutes in and he misses. Horvat gets a partial breakaway. He goes just high. Nick Patan makes a beautiful backhand sauce, Sedin level backhand sauce onto the tape of Elias Pettersson at the back post. And Nedeljkovic absolutely robs Elias Pettersson. And that was a turning point for this game. Canucks get a penalty, they kill it off. Lamico and Highmore get a little 2-on-1 that doesn't go. And then Lucas Raymond with the best chance for Detroit, and Demko robs him, sliding to his left with about 25 seconds to go. First period was actually a wild period. Very active back and forth, both directions. Shots ended up being 18-12 in favor of Detroit, which isn't great. But the Canucks go to the second period, and the Red Wings score first. 8 minutes in, it's Puce Suter, a 2-on-1, and Quinn Hughes tried to break it up, and it was sort of the puck sort of slid off of his stick, and Demko wasn't expecting it. He was expecting the pass over. It goes 5-hole, and it's 1-0. Suter's 12th of the year, which is unfortunate for the Canucks because they started this period really strong. Brock Besser, unable to get anything to go. Had a few prime chances in the second period, like 2 or 3 or 4. Nemesnikov gets a breakaway. Demko stops it. Garland gets a breakaway the other way, goes backhand, and he is stopped. So second period rolls around, or second period finishes up. Canucks outshoot the Red Wings 17-13 in that period. So again, a lot of shots. We've had a full game worth of shots. The shots are like they're 31-29 for Detroit at this point. So a full game, like I said, worth of shots. We go to the third period. Canucks on the power play to start. Lots of decent chances. Lots of passing around, though. A lot of stuff to the outside. Nothing goes. Connor Garland, a nifty move, like 8 minutes in. He gets stopped, and then he draws a penalty behind the Red Wings net, and the Canucks can't score again on this power play. And then they pull Demko. The Red Wings missed the net like 6 times. And Elias Pettersson's shot gets tipped. There's a great save there, but that was really the only great chance of the empty netter. And then at that point, the game's over. Like, the Canucks just ran into time, and they were unable to beat a goalie. 43 shots on goal in this one, and they get nothing to go. They can't beat Nedeljkovic. Now, we're talking about a team, the Detroit Red Wings, who in their last few games have been the worst team in the NHL, at least their last few road games. I think the stat was like they had a 58% penalty kill on the road recently, and they had allowed goals on 12 of their last 18 penalty kills, and things were bad for Detroit. They had like a terrible save percentage, like in the 800s or something, and the Canucks made them look great. Let's get the pluses out of the way here, though, because look, the Canucks played pretty well. Like, genuinely, they couldn't score, but they played okay. You guys know I like to hit the analytics a little bit here. Expected goals at all situations, 3.1 for the Canucks, 2.5 for the Red Wings. So both goalies, absolutely fantastic. And it's just unfortunate. Connor Garland himself had half of an expected goal tonight. They had a lot of prime chances and they just weren't able to get anything to go. Other pluses, Elias Pettersson played pretty well, I thought, in his return. His wrist looked okay. He didn't seem to want to rip any clappers, though, which is a little worrying. but he played pretty well. Obviously, Thatcher Demko was absolutely unreal. One of almost a perfect game. That one save on, or he made 2 huge saves on Lucas Raymond that were fantastic, but it just doesn't work out. That's all my pluses. Actually, analytically, Vasily Podkolzin at 5-on-5 was in the 90% of expected goals. So good on you, Vasily Podkolzin. What if we go all situations? Brock Besser's up there as well. If you bring in all situations into account, Brock Besser, expected goals 1.3 and expected goals against because of 0.24 while he's on the ice. So Besser had a great night if he could just at least for play creation and driving play, but he just wasn't able to score, unfortunately. And that's my first minus of the night, is that Brock Besser can't get a break. He, like I said, he's playing good hockey. He's playing smart hockey, and he just cannot buy a goal. And it happens. You go in through these slumps where, as long as you keep doing the right things, it'll eventually come, and he'll score 4 goals in 2 nights, and we'll be happy. He just can't get a break here. Another big minus is that they make Detroit's goalies look really good. The Vancouver Canucks have this season scored on 1.2% of their shots against Detroit goaltenders. In the Canucks' 3rd game of the season, on October 16th, the Vancouver Canucks played the Detroit Red Wings and lost 3-1. In that game, the Vancouver Canucks had 41 shots on Thomas Greiss, and they made Thomas Greiss look like an absolute god. Fast forward 5 months later, and the Canucks get Alex Nedeljkovic, and they score 0 goals on 43 shots. So 84 shots they have taken on the Detroit Red Wings this year, and they have 1 goal to show for it. That's not very good. Connor Garland had that goal, by the way, back in October. Other minuses, out-of-town scoreboard was bad for the Canucks tonight too. The Canucks playoff odds are going to drop pretty dramatically after this one. Edmonton dominates Buffalo. The Kings win, but that's not really a big deal. Looks like Vegas is going to beat Florida. They're only up by 1 goal with 11.5 to play, so that could flip. That would be huge. That would be huge for the Canucks if it did flip. Other than that, yeah, Dallas won. And the Predators lost, but I think the Predators are kind of out of reach at this point. So all in all, a bad night for the Canucks. In the playoff odds, they were at 28% per The Athletic coming in. I think 25% per Money Puck. They probably drop a few solid percentage points, especially since their next game they're against Calgary. And we said, it would be great if on this little homestand before the trade deadline, their last 3 games, you want them to win 2 of them. You want to get 4 out of the 6 points. Well, if they want to do that, they now have to go beat Calgary, who is unstoppable seemingly right now. And then they have to beat Buffalo. And that should be, similar to this Detroit game in theory. Other minuses, just from this game at least, lots of plays around the outside. It felt like the Canucks were really running the perimeter game, and they were doing a good job of getting set up. But it just felt like a lot of stuff was coming from the outside. This Money Puck graphic, I'm going to see if I can get this on screen. I don't know if it'll let me. No, I think I have to actually screenshot it, which it's kind of breaking on me. There we go. Screenshot, save. Let me see if I can find it now. Sorry, guys. I know this is entertaining. Let's drag this onto the screen. Here we go. Right over my face. This is the scoring chances map from this game. And I'll go up here so you can see me. Look at how much stuff in front of that Canucks net. Look at that sea of red in front of the Canucks net here. If we just hone in on this, there is a lot going on in front of the Canucks net. You go to the other side, Canucks had a few good chances in front of the Detroit net, but a lot of stuff higher slot and a lot of stuff around the perimeter. The size of the dots, by the way, is what percentage of a chance that is, how good it is. So either way, they were allowing a lot in tight. Rebounds were big against the Canucks tonight. They needed to do better at producing. Other minuses in this game, the Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Tyler Myers unit were not good. They were ranked the lowest out of defensemen. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, 25% expected goals. Again, 50% is average. So he was at 25%, right next to Lamico, Highmore, and Mott tonight. Tyler Myers at 38.5%, so they were the two lowest defensemen by far. Every other defenseman was above 50%. Brad Hunt at 56, Luke Shen at 68, Quinn Hughes at 76, and Travis Hamonic at 67. So it was just those two defensemen got hemmed in tonight. And that includes, like I said, the Tyler Mott line. They were all around that 25th percentile at 5-on-5. They got absolutely hemmed in tonight, unfortunately. And the biggest loss of this game is the JT Miller point streak. It ends at 12 games, a bunch of points, but the dream of him setting the record died at the hands of Alex Nedeljkovic, unfortunately. One other plus from this game is the Olli Juolevi watch, and I only took notes from the first period, but Olli Juolevi got dusted by Tyler Myers in this game. He got burned by Tyler Myers in the first period, where Myers just walked around him, and then he passed it up the wall to Tyler Myers, and then he passed that puck right to the tape of Nick Patan. Olli Juolevi was not very good tonight, although analytically he's actually at 68% of expected goals, and Corsi, while he's on the ice, was it even show him? I can't find his name. Was 61%. So Juolevi analytically had a fine night while he was on the ice, but man, he didn't look all that good. All right, that's all of my notes. That's it. That's all I have. Let's go to the people to see what you guys have to say. As you can tell, I really enjoyed that hockey game, and I'm honestly, it was a fun hockey game. The Canucks played totally fine. It just is very frustrating when they can't get a goal. Murray says, I honestly believe we could pull it back the whole time. I did too. I believed up until they pulled the goalie, and then I was like, all right, it's probably it. But it seemed like eventually something has to go in, right? They just didn't. The Elder was the opposite. Knew halfway through the second it was going to be a shutout. Well, you had assumed. The way this team has battled back a lot lately, especially under Bruce Boudreau, had me optimistic that even if things fell apart, if they were down by a goal going into the third period, that's not a terrible place to be. And this team has shown that they can come back from that. Just didn't go their way tonight. Marcus Detroit has let in 5 goals or more in their last 4 games or something. Yeah, they've allowed like 33 goals in their last 5 games or something, last 6 games. And it is us who get shut out. Isn't that fun? Isn't that so neat? Also says Hunt was decent at least. I think that's true. Yeah, Brad Hunt was fine. No clappers down the wing, though, unfortunately. Zach says, do you think this loss gives Canucks management agency to go out and make a big trade now? Pretty much settle our playoff aspirations. I don't know. I think this is such a... Why would this one game settle the Canucks playoff aspirations? Right? This makes it harder. And the other things that happened tonight in the out-of-town scoreboard mattered as well. But I mean, the Canucks lost 2 games in a row last week, and that wasn't the end of their playoff aspirations. Lots of people said it was, and then they win two games after that, and suddenly, or 3 games out of 4 after that, or get 5 points or at least, and it's like, they're still back in it, right? Canucks go and beat Calgary in 2 nights on Saturday, and we're like, all right, the Canucks are still in it, right? I think saying that this game doomed the Canucks is really overselling it. Right? It was an out-of-conference game, a team that they're not in the playoff race. If this game was against Vegas, then we could go a little bit further down that road. But it's a game where the Canucks were the better team. They ran into a hot goalie. When I say a hot goalie, a goalie who had a really good night. And they just couldn't score. There's still 20 games left. Right? Sure, it was going to be an uphill climb the whole way, but I feel like if after every single game we say, that's it, they're done, and then after every single win, we say, they're right back in it. I mean, that seems kind of disingenuous because they're not out of it. It's harder, but they're not out of it. Flaming Storm says those types of losses are most annoying, or rather a blowout, because at least the other team would have outplayed us. Yeah. It always depends on what angle you want to take, right? There's some games where the Canucks are the worst team on the ice, and they win. Look at that 6-3 game against the Devils 2 nights ago. Analytically, the Devils were the better team. Their goalies just could not make a save. And it's the exact opposite tonight. The Canucks were the better team, but they couldn't score a goal. It usually evens out over the course of the year. Better teams, you keep playing good, and eventually it'll even out. Now, that gets frustrating when you're down to the wire and you need wins, and they just aren't coming because you're getting bad luck. Like in this game, you run into a hot goaltender. It gets frustrating, but it usually does even out. And the teams that are good usually make their own luck, right? There's a reason that a team like Colorado is the top team in the league right now. It's because they have a really good team, and they're playing really well. So you can take some solace out of the Canucks, quote, played the right way, even though they allowed a lot offensive or a lot. They were very porous defensively, but they were also quite dangerous offensively. But yeah, at some point you gotta win games, and we're getting kind of past the moral victory stage, right? Symphonia says so many of the Canucks players were snake bitten all night. Besser bobbled a lot of high danger chances. Yeah, that's very true. It was unlucky. There was the one from Besser that I think, was unfortunate, where he didn't get all of it on the cross crease and he put it wide. That was unlucky. Yeah, he just couldn't get anything to go, and it's unfortunate. But it's not all on him, right? Because a bunch of other people had great chances to score too, and they didn't get it done. So, yeah, unfortunate. Sonny says, please trade Besser. It's not just this game. He's so streaky and one-dimensional. If he's not scoring, he's useless. He's been pretty useless for large stretches of the season. I heavily disagree. I think saying that Brock Besser is useless really misses the point. I think we have been drilled home so hard on the Brock Besser has one job. He is a one-dimensional goal scorer, and if he doesn't score goals, he is useless. Brock Besser is very good at driving play. Analytically, he is one of the top players on the team. At 5-on-5, just general play driving. Having Brock Besser on the ice, even if he is not scoring, makes the team better. He is a very smart player. He makes smart decisions most of the time. Sure, he makes a couple of boneheaded ones, but so does everyone else on the team. Look at Tyler Myers. Even when Brock Besser is not scoring, he is bringing positive value onto the ice. Now, I like to look at the athletic player cards because they're fun. Brock Besser is currently on pace for 26 goals, 26 assists this year, which is not great, but also not the worst thing in the world. 52 points. He could be doing better. Offensively, because of that, he is not very good analytically this year. However, defensively, he's in the top 70%, or he's in the 70th percentile of all players or all wingers defensively. He is playing, at least per The Athletic, at a $7.4 million value. And that's not scoring a lot of goals. If he was out there scoring more, and if the last little while is more of an indicator than the first couple months of the season, then I think Brock Besser is if we're talking about a guy who's scoring 33 goals this year, I think we're talking about an extremely valuable player. But since he's not going to hit 30, which is that benchmark that we like to see, suddenly everyone's ready to get rid of him. But you're really selling low, or not selling low, but I think you're unlikely to get good. I think you're better to have Brock Besser than you are to trade him, especially if you can sign something a little bit longer term at a lower cap it than his qualifying offer. And I think bringing that up just because he was snake bitten tonight and couldn't get a shot to go is just not fair. Also, keep in mind the ice at Rogers Arena is terrible, and everyone's been saying that. Let's see here. Way too much passing, some people saying. Jaskron saying, honestly, felt like 40 out of the 43 shots with the blue line. Didn't really feel like they converted on the power plays we got. The power plays were okay. They had 3 of them, if I remember correctly. And I think they probably had, they had 3 of them. On those, they only had 4 shots, and those all came on the first 2. Their third power play, they didn't get a single shot on goal. And a lot of it was from the outside. That is fair. They had almost nothing in tight. Let's see here. Young Dakota saying Garland is snake bitten. Next year, I think he'll be close to a point per game. You're right. Garland is in sort of that similar boat as Besser analytically, where all the signs point to him being an extremely valuable player. Just nothing seems to work for him. And you watch him out there, and he generates so much space, right? He's so fast. He's so not fast, but he's so quick, is what I meant to say. So agile. His turning is unreal when he puts the spins on people. I think Connor Garland is still a super valuable piece. And as long as he sticks around through the trade deadline, I think he's going to be a very good player next year. Let's see here. Jaskran saying maybe it's a sign that we light up Markstrom again on Saturday because we bounced back nice against the Flames last time we played them. It would be huge for the Canucks to go out and have a good game against the Flames. I'm talking if the Canucks play well and lose an OT, I think that's a big win. If they can get 2 points out of the game on Saturday, that is a big moment because then they can get that 4 points out of the 3 games that they needed. Let's see here. Grind saying, I think PD wasn't taking clappers because he was trying to take it easy. I agree. Yeah. Look, he has a wrist injury, or at least a mild wrist injury, it seems, because he's still playing. His wrist shots had some pep on him. That was fine. Slap shots are a lot harder on wrists than wrist shots are, though. So why risk it, right? Sure, he's got a great, dangerous slap shot, but if it's even clicking at 90%, and he's like, okay, 1, I don't want to hurt it. 2, I'm not able to place it where I want to with the velocity I want to, so it's less valuable than me trying to pass to someone else, is sort of what I think his mind was probably going through. Kai saying that's a game you can't lose, especially with the out-of-town scoreboard looking bad. Fair. I noticed a lot of players making a lot of unnecessary dekes and passes. A lot of people were trying to make the extra pass, and that can happen, especially when you're in a game where you can't beat a goalie. At some point, you don't want to shoot anymore, and you're trying to just be like, here, you do it, right? And you're trying so hard to... You get in this mindset where the regular shot isn't good enough anymore, right? And you start to think to yourself, okay, we need the perfect play. It needs to be a cross-crease pass where the goalie doesn't even have time to turn his head, and that's the only way we're going to score, and you just try to do too much, right? Keep in mind, Canucks still got 43 shots on net. But yeah, they definitely could have generated a little bit more offensively, because even with all of those shots on goal, the Canucks expected goals were only 3.15, which isn't that high for 43 shots, right? That means their average like shot had like a 7% chance of going in, which is pretty low, right? That would be like a 930 save percentage from an average goalie based on the way the Canucks played tonight. Let's see here. Agam saying, surely we have a very high expected goals, but our shooting has been bad most of the season. Yeah, it's the shooting isn't great at times. I wonder what the average shooting percentage is. I think I can look that up. I think NHL.com tells you that. Stats by team. Let's find. I want the shooting report. Is that a thing? Shots by type. Get stats. Shooting percentage. Sort. The Vancouver Canucks have the 6th worst shooting percentage in the NHL. So that tells a bit of a story, right? Canucks have an 8.7 shooting percentage. So against the Canucks, goaltenders have, what is that? A 913. Is that right? 913, which is above average. The median team, which is like Dallas, is like 9.5. So yeah, that would be a nice handful of goals to get, right? Gus is predicting they beat Calgary and lose to Buffalo. That would be entertaining. That would be fun. Agam saying it sucks losing games like this, but this won't be the reason we miss the playoffs. Those games against Vegas will make or break. Yeah, there's so many other games that we can pin the tail on for why the Canucks probably won't make the playoffs, and I don't think it's this one. Because again, they played okay. Yeah, that 7-2 games against the Devils rings a bell, and things along those lines. What else do we got here? JC says we can all thank Travis Green and his awful coaching for the Canucks missing the playoffs this year. Yeah, that's fair. that's the real reason. Kai saying the biggest thing I noticed this year is that our defense gets exposed a lot with fast teams. The amount of odd man rushes and 2-on-1s we give up is insane. I feel bad for Demko. Yeah, and that was clear last night too. New Jersey was fast. And there's a couple players on the Red Wings like Lucas Raymond and Dylan Larkin who are fast. And the Canucks defense, which we talked about on Canucks After Dark last night, isn't fast, right? And we talked about this on Tuesday as well. You got Quinn Hughes, who isn't fast, but he's very agile, right? Very nice on his feet. But he's not super fast, but that's fine. But Tyler Myers, Travis Hamonic, Ekman Larson, Hunt, Shen, Poolman, if he were to come back, not fast. Slow even is what I would say. And yeah, you get burned. Agam says this felt very much like a Travis Green game. Power play let us down. We had a lot of shots, but not great chances. Do you agree? It was a little more free flowing than a Travis Green game, I think. Similar result though. Agam saying OEL and Myers have to be the highest paid pairing. I don't think so. Do Burns and Carlson play together? Because they combined make $20 million, which is more. Anyone Seth Jones plays with, potentially. How much does this game, asks Alter, change your opinion on what the team should do at the deadline? Well, our predictions on Canucks After Dark last night was if the Canucks get 4 points and Vegas loses to Florida, then you basically do nothing. And I'm still kind of on the boat that you can do basically nothing. Right? And think of it this way. The Canucks have one player that they risk losing. And that's Tyler Mott. Brock Besser is an RFA. Yeah, the qualifying offer sucks, but they can get something done there. JT Miller is signed next year. Everyone else is signed next year. It's just Tyler Mott is the only one you risk losing. And that you can just keep him if you want to and say, yeah, we're going to use Tyler Mott as part of our playoff push because he's like our sort of rental. So I think it's really easy for the Canucks to do nothing at this trade deadline or just trade Tyler Mott for like a high second is sort of what the Canucks are wanting. Obviously, no contending team is going to have a high second, but something of that value, right? Maybe a B-level prospect. And I'm still kind of sticking around that boat. Let's see here. I'm just going to see if there's any more that I want to read. Agam says, would you rather play Halak against Calgary and bite the bullet or try Demko against Calgary, Halak against Buffalo? If Demko's ready to play, you play him. Because that Calgary game matters now more than it did before this one, right? Every game after the Canucks lose matters a little bit more. So I think you don't overthink it. You play Demko in the first of the back-to-back, and you play Halak in the second one, and you do what every team does. And I think it's the safe play, and I think it's probably the right one too. Let's see what else I want to read here. Austin says, "Let's go Florida." Did they pull something out here? Are you lying to me? Are you giving me false hope? Looks like they tied it, and then Vegas took the lead back a minute later. Florida Panthers, empty net right now. Can I watch this game? Is that something I can do? Do I have that ability? Is it on TV? I don't think so. I don't think it's on TV. All right. Either way. Oh, it is. It's on Sportsnet. I want to watch it, but I can't. Maybe I'll live commentate for you guys here. Mute it. All right. Let me read the next one while we watch the Panthers at the same time. Quattrop says, what were the Canucks' grade A chances tonight compared to the Red Wings? Yeah, I didn't have natural stat trick open. Vegas just scored to make it 5-3. William Karlsson an empty netter, so I'm glad I found the remote and turned the TV on. They won the face-off, or Florida won the face-off. Pass was dumb and hopped over a guy's stick, and Karlsson scored. So that game's over. Vegas is going to get 2 points, which is unfortunate. Grade A chances. I didn't look at natural stat trick. I was looking at Money Puck tonight because I actually like their, I had never used their site, but I like the things that they show me a lot more. High danger chances in this game were 15-8 in favor of Detroit. Total scoring chances, 37-33 in favor of Vancouver, but the high danger ones were heavily in favor of Detroit. But the expected goals were about the same on Natural Stat Trick's model. Actually, they were a little bit nicer to Detroit. Same expected goals for the Canucks. Detroit had 2.8 instead of 2.5. But a similar story. The Elder asks Demko Saturday and Sunday. I don't think so. I think you have to play Halak. BL Tube says Canucks tend to play good after a loss, which is good for Saturday. Also, I love Garland. There seems to be no finish with him after the first 10 games of the season. Yeah, they do tend to play good after a loss. There's some potential for a bounce back, although they did lose 2 games in a row last week, even if Quinn Hughes doesn't believe it. Garland is struggling to finish, and I think that's a very fair point, but I still think he's doing all the right things, and he has the ability to finish. We've seen some great goals from him, but he also needs other people out there to finish with him, so it's a bit unlucky. Okay, I'm gonna see if there's anything else I want to read, because I might want to wrap up a little early tonight. Karcharadon, I think a new name here. Welcome. Saying Canucks been scoring more lately. Not too worried about this. Demko was probably the best player on the team again. Not probably. Demko was the best player on the team again, as per usual. It does seem, this has been their worst offensive production game in a while, right? We're talking about a team who lately put up 6 on the Devils, only scored 1 against Tampa Bay, but 3 against Washington, 5 against Montreal, 6 against Toronto, 4 against the Islanders. They've been on a pretty good run of scoring lately. One bad night hopefully makes them want to score more on Saturday on Hockey Night in Canada. We can believe. Agam says, what do you think of trading Mott for an early second, late first, and using Lockwood as an in-house replacement? I think if you're getting that much value for Tyler Mott, I think you take it, especially because I don't think he's going to be worth re-signing next year. I think it's just too much money. I wouldn't be too hyped up on Lockwood. I'd be a little nervous about saying, like, oh, he's just basically a free Tyler Mott. I don't think he's that. I don't think we should be that high on him yet. But I think he might be a similar type of player. I just don't think for this year, though. Because especially, honestly, I didn't mention Nick Patan. I thought Nick Patan played a decent game. Good on Nick Patan. Anything else that I want to take? Calvin says the reason the Canucks don't make the playoffs this year is because half of it had Travis Green's coaching. It stands to reason that we can keep the team as it is for next year and make it in. That's fair. It won't be exactly the same because you do have, Besser's going to make a little bit more money, and you have to start thinking about that Miller contract, especially since next year might be his last year in a Canucks uniform. But yeah, I think under Bruce Boudreau, this is a playoff team. Right, they've been playing a playoff level of hockey, and they've been getting a playoff level of points percentage. But also a lot of that has been boosted by phenomenal goaltending. And I mean, that's basically it. They still don't have a penalty kill. That's a big problem. Their penalty kill is still clicking at like the worst in the NHL. And that's my fear, is that the penalty kill could still kill this team. But yeah, it's a fair point. All right. FunQ says, why don't teams take more advantage of having a backup goalie? Let's say a team has a back-to-back. First game, they're up 5-1 after 2. Why not let the backup finish? If you lose that game, man, you get clowned for it. There's a lot of pride in goalies as well. They started the game, they want to finish it. You can also make the argument of injury risk, right? Putting a guy in cold after 2 periods can be a bit of an issue. The other team might get mad at it because it's like disrespectful. I don't know. It's a decent point. I also see why they wouldn't do it. All right. I think I'm going to wrap up there for now, because I'm tired and I would like to go to sleep. Obviously not the result the Canucks wanted. We'll be back Saturday night against after the game against the Canucks and Flames. Yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Any new members? Let me check. Anyone call it? Nope. Perfect. All right, that's easy. Thank you guys. If you enjoyed the show, leave a like. Obviously, it wasn't the most upbeat. We did Canucks After Dark last night. That was a lot more upbeat. That's linked in the description. You can find the link tree for Canucks After Dark down below. I think it was a really good show. So I highly recommend either watching it on YouTube or finding it on your favorite podcast platform. Just search for Canucks After Dark. It's pretty easy. But yeah, have a good night. I'll talk to y'all next time.